This is what Zulu people look like, apparently, according to African Americans, or at least some African Americans. That's why there's this big row going on social media between African Americans and black South Africans, particularly Zulu people. And it's because of this parade. I just learned of this. Apparently, every year in New Orleans, there's a Zulu parade. And how it started dates back more than 100 years ago. Black people weren't allowed or couldn't take part in Mardi Gras celebrations, and so they created their own. And that's how the Zulu Parade was born. It's a big deal, apparently. But the criticism towards this is, well, we have Zulu people, actual Zulu people, 10, 11 million Zulu people in South Africa, and they are outraged because understandably, it's not a true reflection or depiction of their culture. African Americans, the very same people who complained when Tyler referred to herself as a colored woman, are not backing down. They're saying this tradition is not going anywhere. It is here to stay.
You know, it's wild how one word, just one name, can mean completely different things depending on where you are in the world. And when that word is Zulu, well, things can get emotional real fast. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, Trending Pulse Worldwide. If you're new here, my name is Amy and I'm so glad you found this space. Make yourself at home and hit that subscribe button and join the conversation. And to my returning family, you already know I appreciate you. Every like, comment and share means the world to me. So let's get down to the conversation. There's been a lot of talk online lately, and at first glance, it might look like just a parade, just a cultural moment, but the reactions, they've got people talking across the continent. So guys, let's take a look first and then we'll really talk.
So to my South Africans, love you. Beautiful people, rich in culture, huge hearts. Stop arguing with Black Americans from New Orleans. Stop. And to my Black Americans, stop arguing with people from South Africa. Knock it off. Because I want y'all to get up and I want y'all to look around and who do you see? Because I see a puppet master in the making here. You can't tell me otherwise. There was some kind of CIA agent that has tainted the pool, and now everybody fighting with each other. You got South Africans saying, well, we don't back down. Ask the Nigerians. I'm sorry, what the fuck is going on? Wake up!
The image you're looking at here is of the Zulu Parade in New Orleans, a tradition which dates back to between 1909 and 1916. The tradition seems to be based on a skit or comedy which a man called John L. Motea saw, and which inspired him to create and organize a carnival. The comedy John saw had people in grass skirts wearing makeup, as you're seeing here, and it inspired him to reorganize his marching troupe. With this, Black Americans were allowed to have their own carnival, and this is how the tradition began, because around this time, there was a lot of segregation. They were not allowed to celebrate with white people in their carnival, so they said they'll create their own, and this is how the Zulu Parade was born. Now, recently, Africans like myself and Zulu people in South Africa have discovered this, and it's causing a lot of controversy and tension between Black Africans and Black Americans, unfortunately. Specifically those of New Orleans and specifically those in South Africa of the Zulu ethnic group. Now, have a look at this image and tell me, why do you think exactly the Zulus in South Africa are offended by what they're seeing? If you don't understand why they may be offended, I'll give you an image from a Belgian tradition called Black Pete. Have a look. This is Black Pete, a Belgian tradition where white people paint themselves black and have red lips, afros, and so on. Now, according to them, this is their tradition. It's not meant to be offensive to black people, and it's their way of celebrating Christmas and so on. Now, whether you're Black African or Black American, when you take a look at this, how do you feel? Do you think this is okay? If yes, then fair enough. But if no, then you should understand why the Zulus are offended. Now, for people in New Orleans, I get it. This is your tradition, this is your culture, and it's special to you because you had to build it in such a bad environment. Yeah, your ancestors had to do that in the 1900s. It's just kind of sad, I understand. But that being said, the origin of this was a skit. It's comedy, and you're calling it Zulu, which is offensive to actual Zulu people. Okay, it's a caricature of Africans, grass skirts, all that stuff. That's not that's not right. Okay. That being said, I'm not saying scrap this or get rid of it. No, continue. This is your tradition. This is what your ancestors left you, right? All I'm saying is, if you're going to call it Zulu, at least do some research on the Zulu culture and show some respect to the Zulu tradition. And not only that, you can also incorporate other traditional African cultures and attires and so on, and have a tweak on it, mixing it with your culture. That's fine. I have no problem with that. All I'm saying is, this is like a caricature, and it was meant to be a caricature because it's based on a skit and comedy, as you can see, as I've said. And if that doesn't work and you don't care, you want to keep everything the way it is, that's totally fine. But just remove the name Zulu, call it something else. Because again, if people appropriated your culture, your names and so on, you wouldn't like that. So why are you going to do that the other way? Let's not be hypocrites. You know what I mean? Let's have respect for each other as black people. I'm a Pan-African. I want people to respect each other as black people. All of us. And I'm seeing disrespect on both sides. It's just heartbreaking for me, man. Honestly.
The word of the day is divide and conquer. I'm actually kind of disappointed to see the behavior of South Africa, but I'm not surprised. The argument that y'all are arguing over is old. Black Americans and Africans have been arguing and fighting for decades. Now, New Orleans and South Africa actually had a good relationship, or maybe still do have a good relationship. Right now, we just don't like each other. And that's okay, because we don't always have to like each other, as long as we have a mutual respect. Now, y'all done took this Zulu thing to a whole nother level. Now y'all directing it to slavery in America, and y'all making fun of it. Well, I just want to let y'all know that that's what makes us resilient. You making fun of that, but we are the most evolved black people in this world. Let's start there. In 1881, Booker T. Washington opened up a black college called Tuskegee College. One of the most powerful, complex, and truths about history is that Black Americans were legally free before African nations gained their independence. Black Americans were free in 1865. Africa didn't gain their independence until 1950. So understand, we have a story to tell here in America. And slavery is what makes us resilient, strong, and very educated black community. Now in New Orleans, we don't want no beef with y'all. And that parade that y'all making a big deal over is here to stay. Because what our people went through and the history behind that parade is also historical for our culture here in America. The Zulu parade not only represents Zulu in Africa. In New Orleans, we are also native to this country. That parade also represents black natives that was already here in this country. We was taught here in America to love y'all, not hate y'all. Y'all don't like us. The people in New Orleans has been in America 300 years before slavery. And that's facts.
Okay, guys, look. I know we do a lot of joking and we do a lot of playing on this app. But what I'm seeing right now that's happening in the black community among blacks and South Africans right now, guys, y'all need to stop this. Y'all really do. Y'all need to stop this. The Zulu parade is something that I literally just learned about a few days ago. Never even heard of it. Been trying to get to Mardi Gras all my life in Louisiana, and I've never heard of. I've heard of Mardi Gras, but I've never heard of Zulu parade. So, South Africans, you are a whole country that is getting upset with a small subset of Black Americans that is rich in a variety of different cultures. This is crazy to me. And the way that you are showing your discontent for what is happening, you're making fun of slavery? Your ancestors and mine You're making fun of slavery, out of all things, slavery. You know what? I'm not even addressing the entire South African country because I know that our Black South Africans, I know this is not you. This is not you. I'm just going to reference the ones, I want to make sure, I don't want to generalize this. I'm going to make sure that I reference the ones that are making these slave videos. You guys need to stop. This is ridiculous. We are looking so bad right now. We are being made fun of right now. We are completely being laughed at. Now, I understand that the Black community as a whole, we have our issues, we have our problems. But we usually handle those problems within our community. We don't make fun. We don't do this.
When I tell y'all, this whole Zulu conversation, it is bothering me. So this is the thing, right? I started reading and researching because that's the only way you find out the truth. And I went to like museum websites and studies, African studies in Africa. Okay. So, and then I went to search images and things of that nature. Now, this is why I think the Black people in America need to understand. When you look at the Zulu parade in New Orleans, it screams, make white people feel comfortable. It screams indoctrination and colonization. It screams it, right? So I started to read up on it. And the Zulu parade in Africa started off as some type of marching club because they wanted the white people wouldn't let, for Mardi Gras, I think it is, they wouldn't let them celebrate with them, march with them. So this is how that marching club started, right? And then in like 1600 or something like that, 16th century, I think they said something like that, they adopted the name Zulu from Africa. So they took the name. I don't even think it was no discussion. Hey, go holler at somebody over there in Africa, see if we could use their name, right? Now, I don't think that discussion ever happened. I could do some more research. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but baby, let me cook. So then I started to read further, and it was known as like a social club, things of that nature. And it started as hold on. Okay, hear me out. If you're ready for a lesson, I'm going to let you know, because this is why I can't just totally just sit with the Black Americans, because it just don't make sense to me. So Zulu traces its origins to 1909. So I misspoke. It was the Zulu in Africa that did the 16th century. Okay, hold on. Zulu traces its origins to 1909 when the founders paraded as a marching club. Between 1912 and 1914, the group had adopted the name Zulu and an African theme for their costumes. So they adopted the name Zulu, it's in quotations on here, and then I guess a completely different African theme for their costumes. The inspiration was a vaudeville skit titled "There Never Was and Never Will Be a King Like Me," in which the characters wore grass skirts and dressed in blackface, a common practice in vaudeville theater for both black and white performers. The costume also included black dyed turtlenecks known as goosenecks and tights purchased from theatrical supply stores. This is the thing, okay? So this is the 1900s. Hold on. Now, this is what I read about the Zulu in Africa. The ancestors of the Zulu migrated from West Africa into southeastern Africa during the Bantu migrations from 2000 BC until the 15th century. The Zulu tribe expanded into a powerful kingdom, subdued surrounding groups, and settled into a region known as KwaZulu-Natal in present-day South Africa. Y'all can't be disrespectful to the motherfucker that it originated with. Y'all supposed to just listen and not center yourself. Listen to the people from the actual land where the Zulu originated from.
Okay, so a video gets released of some Zulu Day cultural event of sorts, or march or parade or something. I think it was in New Orleans or Philadelphia. I don't know, something like that. And obviously they are adorned in what they perceive to be Zulu regalia. And as soon as I saw that video, I was like, Zulu parade? I was like, what the hell are they wearing? Because personally, my entire life, having been born to two Zulu parents, having been born in KwaZulu, Natal, well then obviously the South Africans are now in the comments trying to educate the Americans about the fact that this is not a correct representation of the Zulu culture, right? Because even at some points, I even started thinking to myself, okay, like maybe I'm a different kind of a Zulu and America has its own version of Zulu. But that isn't the point. The point is the fact that through us trying to educate them of the fact that this is a complete misrepresentation, it's actually giving cultural appropriation. But okay, that's another story for another day. They are up in arms telling us about we are in fact the ones that are wrong. And I'm like, how? Am I going to go now to Japan and tell Japanese people how to make sushi? Am I going to go to Australia and tell a kangaroo how to be a kangaroo? On what authority? And the thing is, Google is free. So now when you Google Zulu culture and you see the pictures there in Google and you see what mess was happening there in New Orleans, like what goes through your head, if anything at all?
The fighting between the African Americans or Black Americans and the South Africans, I think it's a good thing. Hear me out. Currently, there's an internet war between South Africans and Black Americans over the Zulu parade that's happening in New Orleans. Blackface, clown-like costumes, it's offensive, and it's understandable why South Africans are upset. But I want to say something that might sound wild, that this is all good. It's good for Black people all over the world. For centuries, the colonizers have used a weapon deadlier than any gun: divide and conquer. They split us up, they stole our languages, they rewrote our stories. They made sure that a Black man in Africa and a Black man in America would never get to see each other except through their lens. And before the internet, that's all we had. Their TV shows, their radio shows, their education systems, all telling us what Black Africans are, what Black Americans are. And the effects of that are still ongoing today in 2025. The difference is now we have the internet. So Black people are starting to see each other's realities. And sometimes it's going to get messy. It's going to get painful. So we fight, we educate, we clap back, we mock. Some of us are too old to change. Some of us are too stubborn. Our parents or our grandparents are too old to change. But here's the thing, for the first time in history, we are able to see each other's truths, each other's realities. And we are now traveling. We are now reading. We are now making up our own minds. So this period is not division. It's a transition. It's a transition period. We have to go this to get to the next period. Unfortunately, I don't think that some of us will live long enough to see the next period of transition. But our generation, we inherited lies. And now we have to differentiate between the lies and reality that we are seeing with our own eyes. And it's going to take a lot, because it's going to mean some of us have to unlearn things. And it's offensive sometimes. And as people, it's normal. It's normal to be upset. And it's normal to try to protect what you think is yours. But in reality, it's what you were told. This also happens in Africa, specifically South Africa, where we know that maybe our parents will never be able to change some of their thinking because they were conditioned like that during apartheid. We live in it. But our kids were born into this period, this fire. And our grandkids and our great-grandkids will be born into a totally different time where realities are understood, whether you're in the UK, whether you're in the Caribbean, or whether you're in Kenya or South Africa.
All right, let's break this down. What we just saw is more than just a parade or some costumes. It's a moment that has sparked real emotions on both sides. And to really understand why, we need to take a step back and look at both perspectives. So, for Black Americans, especially those in New Orleans, the Zulu parade has deep roots. And it started over 100 years ago as a form of resistance because they were excluded from the white Mardi Gras celebrations. And choosing the name Zulu was their way of reclaiming African pride and identity at a time when everything about their blackness was being mocked or erased. And to them, it was never about disrespect. It was about celebration, connection, and creating their own space. Now, for many South Africans, especially those from the Zulu tribe, the word Zulu is not just symbolic, it's a living identity. And it's a culture, a people, a lineage. So when they see it represented in a way that feels off, whether it's the costumes, the face paints, or the betrayal, it hits differently. And it can feel like their culture is being used without really understanding. And that hurt is valid. And we have to acknowledge that both of these communities carry deep histories. And while the Zulu parade may have started with good intentions, it's also okay to admit that some aspects may be misrepresenting the culture, maybe unknowingly. And some Black Americans have already come forward saying they didn't know this would offend South Africans, and they have sincerely apologized. Others have stood by their tradition and don't feel like they need to change anything. And that's the reality. There are mixed reactions even within the Black American community. But one thing is clear. South Africans are deeply upset, and instead of ignoring that, maybe this is a moment where both sides can learn from each other. And if we really want unity across the diaspora, it starts with understanding. That means Black Americans taking time to learn why the word Zulu holds such sacred meaning. And it also means South Africans trying to understand what the Zulu parade represents in the American context, especially for people whose connection to Africa was taken away through slavery. And look, at the end of the day, we are all Black people. We may come from different places and carry different histories, but we are one people. There's no need to hate each other. In fact, when we argue amongst ourselves, we lose sight of something much bigger, because the truth is, neither side is the enemy here. And quite frankly, the systems and forces that divided us in the first place, those are what we should be questioning, not each other. And this is one of those moments when you realize how much colonization and separation have impacted us, to the point where even when we are all Black, we still see the world and each other very differently. But maybe that's exactly why we need these conversations. Because if we don't talk, we stay divided. And when we are divided, we lose sight of the bigger picture. So my beautiful people, what do you think? Is this something we can learn from? Or do we need to rethink how we use cultural references altogether? Drop your thoughts in the comments, keep it respectful, and let's have that real conversation. But guys, don't hold back. And if you found this insightful or eye-opening, go ahead and like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives like this. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.